Well, Firehose released a new video today, and it's called Let's Preview Techtonica's first big QoL, which is quality of life, as we all know, update, version 0.1.1. So let's have a listen. Looks like we got Joey today and not Lauren. Let's see how this goes.
Hey folks, it's Joey, Firehose Games. I have a pretty big update for you today. We're ready to talk about what's in 0.1.1, or as I'm going to call it 1.1 or 1.1 or whatever I call it. This patch drops this week. We can officially confirm that 1.1 drops on Thursday, August 31st. We hit that end of August update.
Awesome. So what are we looking at here? Free day. Yeah, we're 28th today. Excellent.
Calendar date that we had slated, so glad that we could do that. But this week's update is going to be a big one. I'm going to be running through a bunch of stuff. You may see me look down, and it's because I am checking out my agenda as usual, but it's longer. There are check boxes. I got to cover so much crap. I just want to talk to you very briefly before we dive into what's changed and what you can expect from 1.1. This is the first of two quality of life updates. We pivoted to two back when we made the decision to expand and change our roadmap a little bit. And we wanted to split the feedback that we were getting into two separate updates. So we launched like 6-ish weeks ago in July, and now at the end of August, we're dropping the first of two updates. I don't know if the second update's going to follow that same exact cadence. We'll have more detail about it as time rolls on. But for now, 1.1 will be out this Thursday, and it's got a lot of stuff in it, and it's all based entirely on player feedback. Today's video won't cover everything. The patch notes will be super detailed. There will also be sort of like a blog before them. I don't know, not a blog, but just like a summary of some of the bigger, more marquee stuff so that we can get a little more in-depth into the changes. So let's get started. And we're going to start with the core changes. This is all new news to you folks, unless you watched the stream last week, but the cores are getting reworked quite a bit in 1.1, and this is our initial set of core changes. They're mostly focused on the towers. The core requirements are...
Okay, so this is hopefully going to be good because, you know, we build these massive towers of cores and they just affect FPS so much as well. I've got a whole bunch of cores, as you've seen if you watched my playthrough. And yeah, it's just a nightmare.
Down more than half to 6,500 in order to complete the full tech tree, right? So I think it's somewhere north of 16,000, 17,000 cores needed in order to complete the tech tree. We've cut that down significantly. We've heard that players really don't like having so many in game. We still want a physical representation for research. It's
okay,
something
so
that
we still want a physical
to have in Techtonica. The plans for these towers and the cores themselves
thought they might
are
transition
evolving,
to just having
we like
something that lists
like the core of the core mechanics. The core tower height limit, that's gone. That's out the window. They'll stack as high as possible until they reach the ceiling, and if they need more space, just dig out more space.
Quite loud.
The core tower no longer mushrooms, so it doesn't get to a certain height and then spread out. They'll no longer show a red X when they are done building cores. First of all, because they're not really ever done, but also because it was kind of this weird UI thing that we were doing. We had this giant red X on the screen when your core was complete. It just didn't make any sense. So now we're actually going to get rid of that red X, and they will no longer accept more than 10 cores in queue when you start loading them. These core towers, like, you really only are going to need 2 or 3 to complete the full tech tree, and if you have a save that you're currently running, like, you could start a new save. This update will not force you to start a new save. If you have core towers that already exist, you can just delete all of them and then replace the cores. You can leave the towers in place if that's what you want to do. Whatever your choice is. If you do have core composers that have like cores in them and it's no longer building, you'll have those backed up. Just either get them out with mass gather or get them out with an inserter pointed in the other direction, yanking from the core composer and putting into a chest. So there's the core towers.
Yeah.
Core performance has improved. So I know that folks look at those warbly animations and they immediately think like, this is the thing that is slowing my frame rate down. It really isn't.
I mentioned that.
It's actually been tied to audio. It was the cores, yes, but it's the audio, not the animation.
That is interesting because when I've been playing the game for a while, you may have heard it in some of my playthroughs, I get a crackly sound from when all the sounds are going off. It's interesting that you brought up audio. Oh.
I'll talk more about performance enhancements due to audio updates here in just a second, but on the cores, the audio improvements here have made it so that you're not going to take a nosedive when you're standing next to a core tower that has a lot of cores in it. Doesn't happen anymore. I had my face smushed up against a tower in like the last sector in 0.1, and I'm fine. Like, I'm not seeing any frame loss from the core tower itself. But for those people that were complaining about motion sickness, this is real. We'd had to have some players that are like, I'm looking at these core towers, they're wobbling, it's too much motion for me, I don't like it. I mean, if you don't like it, that's fine. We added the research core motion toggle. That is now in the settings menu.
Oh, that's good for people to get motion sickness.
That's the cores in a nutshell. They're going to be improving and kind of changing over the course of the game. We already have some plans for them down the line. We're not getting to them yet. The focus is kind of shifting from the immediate quality of life fixes in 1.1. We're finishing them off in 1.2, and then in 0.2 we're moving over to base building. The cores will come, the changes will come. It's just not, we think that this is enough to kind of satisfy the frustration and feedback that we've been getting so far, while also keeping players who like the cores happy. There are players who like the cores, believe it or not. So let's talk about those.
I like the cores when they were smaller,
a little bit faster,
like in the alpha. Make them smaller again.
Currently, if we found that if you have a ton of machines together, and specifically cores were the things that tipped us off to this, but it's true for conveyors and everything else, they make sounds, and those sounds were not being prioritized or played in an efficient way, and it was actually impacting performance. It was sound that was dragging down some frames. So we've fixed this. Sound no longer hampers performance when we're talking about a bunch of machines in a single place. This goes for cores, conveyors, if you happen to have a bunch of inserters in one small space, whatever it is that's making a ton of noise. This is improved performance, and it actually is giving frames back to the player in late game factories. In-game metrics are coming. I know Lauren previewed this last week.
Yep, we saw this, the bottom left.
You can watch that
on my
video.
previous
I'll link
video,
in the description
and they did
below.
a video on it.
The in-game metrics, they've come with a full recipe rebalance, machine speed rebalance. Conveyors have been buffed. The Mark 1 conveyor now moves items at 240 per minute, which is significantly higher. Mark 2 has also been buffed. Threshers, this is part of the rebalance equation. Threshers now have 1 voxel clearance. We got rid of the massive clearance space required for threshers. If you want, you can connect a thresher directly to another machine with an inserter, if that's what you want to do. This might help with balance in late game thresher. The Mark II thresher balance progression is kind
always had to have at least one conveyor in between.
That's a hard logistics problem. I think that the faster conveyors and the thresher clearance may help. We do have other inserter plans down the line. I can hear you late game players now, just add fast stack filter inserters. Like, we will probably be adding, and by probably I mean definitely be adding different types of inserters down the line, and we may add that type of stack filter inserter. Just wait. Okay, we know. We're going to be adding in more machines to complicate things further for you, so get excited about that.
Excellent. New types of machines would be good.
Last week are down in the bottom left-hand corner as you look at machines, and all sorts of detail there. This was a UI constraint. It remains a UI constraint. Our UI will be overhauled over time for Techtonica. We know, and I hope you know, that it's a work in progress. But for now, this is passable. We feel that this is good enough to do some good math. And speaking of good math, we've cleaned all the numbers up to make them much friendlier for addition,
at least we can see the numbers,
whatever you happen to be doing in order to balance your factories. So that's in-game metrics. We also had digging down with the mole. This is something that players have wanted for like ever, and Richard, our game director, finally had some time to sit in and figure it out. And digging down with the mole doesn't just come with the ability to dig down, it's also like a mole cursor update. It's way easier to see when you're looking at terrain that you can mole through, like how much you'll be carving into when you use the cursor. Look, digging down is not a new setting like flatten mode. Digging down is literally as easy as walking up to a space, looking down, and once you reach a certain point in the look, the mole will just transition to digging below the surface. Super great for tunneling, maybe making trenches for your tech if you want to do that, or digging down into hidden chests or whatever it might be. So we know this is one that everyone's kind of really wanted. We hope it's a nice quality of life update for you, and we're glad to have been able to do it. Folks have been having some issues with breaking saves late game due to quitting during the save process. We've all seen that message, don't save when the indicator is flashing or whatever it is. We didn't have that message in our game, and we've added it. So if you see that save icon that pops up in the bottom right hand corner every minute, you can turn off autosave if that's what you want to do and you don't want to see that. But if you do have autosave turned on, wait till the animation is done playing.
So they've changed it to a Techtonica animation.
Without autosave turned on, wait till that animation finishes, and then quit. Hopefully that'll resolve some of those corrupt save issues that we've been having from people unknowingly quitting before save was finished. We also have added a bunch of new settings, toggles, and tweaks. So first up, Azerty is here. If you're hearing this and you're like, what the heck is Azerty? This probably doesn't impact you at all. Azerty is a keyboard layout typically used in, I believe, France uses Azerty. Other countries do too. It's like an alternative to QWERTY, basically. But because this is another language and because it's another keyboard that we as a company don't own, we're not a French developer, we don't really have access to that right now, we'd love to hear about issues. Consider this version 1 of Azerty support. We expect that you're going to run into some problems if you're an Azerty user. Please let us know in the Discord. The support is here, it's playable, it's usable, we've used it, but if you find some edge cases, which we're assuming you will, let us know.
I always thought that using a different keyboard layout would just be a case of remapping your own controls.
This space. Anti-aliasing is here as well. You can actually toggle that on and off. We anti-alias by default, but if you want like a crispier, more deep-fried Techtonica experience, you can have that. I actually like the game and how it looks with anti-aliasing off. Some of the textures are a little funky, but I think the Vista shots now look a little bit more, I don't know, a little more crisp, I guess, with anti-aliasing off. It also helps with performance. So yeah, go ahead and tap that toggle if you like. And in addition to anti-aliasing and Azerty and the being able to turn off core motion, we've added some more volume sliders. This is something folks wanted. You can get even more granular, and that includes being able to turn up
voice, ambience,
turn down
UI,
UI, sound
machine
effects.
effects. Oh, excellent.
So if you're not really excited about the warp sound that the race tool makes, or if you're kind of annoyed by the constant opening and closing of the inventory sound, like, you can turn that down. That's something we heard like almost right after launch. I think we might even heard it right before launch. If I can remember a streamer complaining about it. So that's been added. We've retooled and added some quests, so that monorail quest, the one that you can't finish, that's now finishable.
Yes, so you
tweak the process for it so it can be finished. And we've added tutorial quests for the hover pack and the rail runner, so that those can be learned better by players. This isn't everything. This is.
I still haven't worked out how to use the rail runner.
Stuff that we're willing to
I see people using it, but I haven't worked out how it works
all the
yet.
stuff that's coming in 1.1, and it felt like it just took me 400 hours to run through that list. This was the banner stuff. This was the stuff that we knew you folks cared about most.
Okay, so that's not everything. That's just a few things. So hopefully there's a lot more bug fixes and things.
We really want this patch to sort of represent the beginning of our commitment to you.
I was going to do a video on things I want to see changed, but I'm going to wait until after 1.1 for that.
It seemed like we're getting a lot of feedback on a certain issue and none feedback on another issue, and how do we prioritize? We prioritize by reading things, we prioritize by listening to the players, and also, like, we prioritize by our time and release schedule. I think this is kind of a weird thing for me to say here, but while we are as responsive as we possibly can be to your criticisms and points of feedback, there's still a vision that we have for Techtonica, and we want to make sure that we're not sacrificing that vision in the process.
Make sure you follow your vision.
And we don't want
feedback just make the game that the players want.
Derail our progression to 1.0. Has this slowed our march to base building down a little bit? Yeah, maybe, but a lot of this stuff was pretty critical, and we think it's better now that it's here. Techtonica feels like
they still need to follow their own vision. I mean, we want stuff, but if it ends up not being the game they like and like working on, then what's the point?
So thank you for watching as usual. Thank you for all of your feedback. It matters to us tremendously. Thanks for your patience. It was a fun launch for us, and part of that was because you were here. I think it went pretty well, and I'm really glad that we're able to continue supporting this game and make it into the game we want and the game that you want. So thanks for playing. Thanks for hanging out. If you want to talk to us directly, you can always do that on our Discord. It's discord.gg/Techtonica. I'm Joey. Lauren is in the Discord, available to his leftmost puddle. That's it. Thanks for hanging out. Let's do this again next week. See you, folks.
Well, there it is, guys. If you've enjoyed this video and it opened your eyes up to a bit more of what's going on in Techtonica, then check out in the comments down below. There will be links to the original video, to the Discord that was up on screen just now, and to Firehose's own YouTube channel. Anyway, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.